Prince Louis charms the public through his impeccable etiquette at royal Christmas service. Inside, the halls were alive with a quiet, organized chaos that only a royal household could produce. Servants moved swiftly but carefully, arranging decorations and ensuring that every corner of the palace reflected the warmth and joy of the approaching Christmas season. Red ribbons adorned the banisters, and fragrant pine garlands lined the walls, filling the air with a comforting scent that spoke of tradition and festivity. The atmosphere was filled with a mixture of excitement, anticipation, and the careful precision that comes with centuries of royal protocol. In the midst of this careful preparation, the youngest member of the family, Prince Louis, had already begun to make his presence felt. Though small in size, his energy and curiosity were immense, and his bright eyes scanned the surroundings with an intelligence and awareness beyond his age. To those observing him, he was not just a child. He was a young prince, learning the subtle ways of a life that few could ever imagine. Even in the early hours of the day, his natural charm and gentle demeanor were apparent, hinting at the qualities that would soon capture the hearts of the public during the royal Christmas service. Louis's morning began quietly. The family's private quarters were warm and inviting, a contrast to the frosty world outside. A gentle fire crackled in the hearth, casting soft light on the polished wood floors and walls adorned with portraits of ancestors. It was here, in this cozy space, that he began his day under the watchful yet tender guidance of his family. His older siblings, familiar with the balance of discipline and play, moved with graceful ease, offering gentle encouragement as he learned to prepare for the ceremonial aspects of the Christmas service. For Prince Louis, these mornings were filled with small lessons in etiquette, each carefully tailored to instill a sense of respect and poise. He was taught how to bow slightly to greet members of the clergy, how to fold his hands quietly during prayers, and how to walk with measured steps that reflected the dignity of the royal tradition. At first, some of these lessons felt unusual to him. He was, after all, a young boy who loved to explore, to ask questions, and to laugh freely. Yet, he approached each lesson with remarkable attention, his small face serious and intent as he absorbed the guidance offered to him. The combination of discipline and curiosity shaped him into a child who was both observant and eager to learn, qualities that would become the hallmark of his public appearances. As the day progressed, the excitement within the palace grew. Preparations for the Christmas service were reaching their final stages. The family moved through their routines with practiced grace, ensuring that every detail was in place for the ceremony. Attendants adjusted uniforms, polished shoes, and ensured that every ribbon and emblem was perfectly aligned. For Louis, these moments were more than routine. They were opportunities to observe and understand the significance of tradition. He watched carefully as adults moved through their tasks, noticing how they carried themselves, how they addressed each other with courtesy, and how even the smallest gestures contributed to the sense of order and respect that defined the royal household. The young prince's curiosity was often met with gentle guidance. When he asked why certain traditions were followed, or why particular gestures were important, he was given thoughtful explanations that respected his intelligence while reinforcing the lessons of etiquette. He learned that the Christmas service was not only a religious occasion, but also a moment when the royal family connected with the public, embodying values of respect, humility, and kindness. These lessons were absorbed naturally, shaping his understanding of the delicate balance between being a child and being a member of one of the most recognized families in the world. Outside the palace, the world was equally alive with anticipation. News of the upcoming Christmas service had spread widely, capturing the attention of citizens eager to witness the royal family in their holiday celebration. The youngest prince, Prince Louis, had become a figure of particular interest. Known for his playful spirit and gentle nature, he had already shown glimpses of the charm that would endear him to the public. Families gathered around television screens, children mimicked his expressions, and social media buzzed with discussions about what the young prince might do during the service. Despite his tender age, Louis had become a symbol of innocence and poise, a reminder of the timeless appeal of the monarchy in modern life. As the hours passed, the palace grew quieter in certain areas, while other rooms remained lively with activity. Louis spent moments exploring under careful supervision, his bright eyes noticing the beauty in the smallest details. The delicate ornaments on the Christmas tree, the intricate patterns on the church uniforms, and the gentle flicker of candlelight all fascinated him. Each observation was an opportunity for learning, an exercise in awareness that would later be reflected in his behavior during the public service. He learned to appreciate not only the grandeur of his surroundings, but also the importance of mindfulness, patience, and attentiveness, qualities that even adults admired. The family's preparation extended beyond physical appearance and behavior. They spoke with him about the significance of the occasion, about the joy of giving, the importance of compassion, and the value of connecting with others in meaningful ways. These conversations, simple yet profound, planted the seeds of empathy and understanding in the young prince's heart. Louis listened intently, absorbing the ideas and internalizing the lessons with a seriousness that often surprised those around him. Though he was still a child, there was a quiet wisdom in his gaze, a reflection of the nurturing environment in which he was growing up. As the day drew closer to the Christmas service, the anticipation became almost tangible. The halls of the palace echoed with the soft sounds of footsteps, laughter, and careful instructions. The young prince, now dressed in his ceremonial attire, looked every bit the part of a future leader who understood both responsibility and kindness. He moved through the palace with an elegance that seemed instinctive, his gestures small but precise, his demeanor calm yet alert. Every step, every glance, every expression was a lesson in grace, observed and admired by those who had the privilege of witnessing him. In these final hours before the service, Louis paused for a moment by the window, gazing at the frosty gardens bathed in the golden light of the winter sun. There was a quiet wonder in his eyes, a reflection of the innocence that remained untouched by public expectation. He understood in his own way that today was special. He would step into a world that watched him with keen interest, that celebrated his charm and politeness, and yet he remained a child at heart, curious about the world and eager to experience the joy of the season. The scene in the palace was a blend of tradition and warmth, a delicate balance between preparation and celebration. Prince Louis, surrounded by family and caretakers, embodied that balance perfectly. His natural charm, combined with the lessons of etiquette and the gentle guidance of his family, prepared him not just for a public appearance, but for a moment that would leave a lasting impression on those who watched him. Even at this early stage, he had begun to understand the importance of dignity, respect, and empathy, qualities that would define his public persona for years to come. As the clock approached the hour of the service, the palace seemed to hold its breath in quiet anticipation. Louis, now fully prepared, took his place among his family, ready to step into the public eye. His small hand rested gently on that of a guardian, his posture straight but relaxed, his eyes filled with curiosity and excitement. The lessons of the morning, the observations, the guidance, and the quiet moments of reflection had all come together to create a young prince who was both prepared and naturally poised. The day had begun as any other in a royal household during the festive season, but for Prince Louis, it was a day of transformation. From playful curiosity to careful attention, from learning subtle gestures to understanding the importance of connection, every moment had shaped him for what was about to unfold. Outside, the public awaited, eager to witness the charm and poise of the youngest prince. Inside, the palace hummed with quiet pride and anticipation, knowing that Prince Louis was ready to capture hearts with a combination of innocence, charm, and impeccable etiquette. And so, as the doors of the palace opened, and the young prince prepared to step into the world, there was a sense of quiet certainty that he would leave an unforgettable impression. The lessons of the morning, the warmth of his family, and the careful guidance he had received would shine through in every gesture, every smile, and every glance. Prince Louis was ready, not just to participate in a royal tradition, but to do so in a way that would charm the public and remind them of the enduring appeal of grace, kindness, and the simple, genuine innocence of childhood. The winter sunlight glinted off the palace gates as the royal family prepared to leave for St. Mary Magdalene Church. Outside, the air was crisp and fresh, carrying the soft sounds of carolers rehearsing in the distance. The streets were lined with well-wishers who had arrived early, hoping for even a brief glimpse of the royal family during the Christmas service. Among them, excitement and anticipation buzzed quietly but intensely. Cameras clicked, phones were held high, and children whispered eagerly to their parents, pointing toward the approaching carriages. Yet amid this festive scene, the youngest prince, Prince Louis, was already demonstrating the quiet composure that would soon captivate the public. Inside the palace, Louis adjusted his tiny coat, the soft fabric fitting him perfectly for the ceremonial occasion. A family member knelt to straighten his collar, smoothing the small wrinkles and ensuring that every detail was impeccable. Louis stood patiently, his small hands folded in front of him, his bright eyes scanning the room with a mixture of curiosity and seriousness. Though he was still very young, he understood in his own simple way that today required more than playfulness. There was a sense of importance, a feeling that every gesture mattered. And while most children his age might fidget or grow restless, Louis remained calm, listening quietly to gentle instructions and absorbing every lesson he had been taught about etiquette. The journey to the church was serene, despite the murmurs of the crowd outside. The carriages moved steadily along the frost-kissed streets, gliding past cheering citizens and curious onlookers. Inside his carriage, Louis's gaze wandered through the window, taking in the familiar yet magical scenes of the palace grounds and the village streets. He noticed the children waving eagerly, the smiles of families bundled up against the cold, and the quiet dignity of the guards lining the road. For a moment, his young mind seemed to take it all in, the excitement, the beauty, the tradition, and he responded not with loud exclamations but with a gentle sense of awe. Upon arrival at St. Mary Magdalene Church, the young prince stepped down from the carriage with careful guidance from a family member. His small hand rested in theirs as he moved forward with tiny, measured steps, each one deliberate and graceful. Though the crowds were excited and the cameras focused on him, Louis showed no signs of nervousness or impatience. Instead, his calm demeanor and respectful posture immediately drew attention. Observers could not help but be impressed by the way he navigated the attention, remaining composed and attentive while still allowing a hint of his natural innocence to shine through. Inside the church, the atmosphere was warm and inviting, filled with the soft glow of candlelight and the gentle scent of pine and flowers. The choir had already begun singing carols, their voices filling the space with harmony and reverence. Louis paused for a moment, taking in the scene, his eyes wide with wonder. Every detail, the ornate decorations, the golden candle holders, the polished pews, captured his attention. He seemed fascinated not only by the beauty of the setting, but also by the sense of calm and reverence that the church inspired. The soft hum of the congregation, the rustle of garments, and the quiet footsteps of clergy moving through the aisles all contributed to an atmosphere that Louis observed carefully, learning how to conduct himself with respect and poise. During the opening moments of the service, Louis demonstrated a remarkable sense of awareness. He folded his small hands quietly, mirroring the adults around him. When the congregation knelt, he knelt as well, not out of fear or instruction alone, but from a natural understanding of the importance of participation. He watched the priests and family members, mimicking subtle gestures, and responded to the rhythm of the service with an attentiveness that seemed beyond his years. Every movement was small but significant. A slight bow, a soft glance, a gentle nod, and together these gestures painted a picture of a young prince who was learning the balance between innocence and responsibility. As the carols continued, Louis's expressions shifted subtly, reflecting his engagement with the service. His face lit up during joyful verses, his eyes glinting with excitement and wonder. During quieter, more solemn moments, he became introspective, his small hands resting gently in his lap as he listened intently. These changes, though subtle, were noticed by the public and commentators alike. They highlighted how naturally he could move between childlike curiosity and respectful observation, embodying both innocence and maturity in a way that made him particularly endearing to those watching from afar. The congregation, though aware of his young age, began to take special note of Louis's behavior. His movements were neither forced nor artificial. They were a reflection of lessons absorbed through careful guidance and personal observation. When he was instructed to bow slightly, he did so with precision, yet there was no stiffness. His movements were fluid, graceful, and natural. When he responded to greetings or acknowledgments from church officials, He did so with a gentle smile and a polite nod, the kind of behavior that would be remarkable even in older children. It was a quiet, powerful display of etiquette that won the admiration of everyone present. Louis also had moments of personal curiosity. His eyes wandered to the intricate details of the church architecture, the flickering candles, and the colorful stained glass windows that depicted historical scenes. He noticed the expressions of the choir members as they sang, the reverence of older attendees, and the quiet joy of younger children who were also present. These observations, though small, were part of his learning. He was understanding not only the ceremonial importance of the occasion, but also the emotional and social aspects. The way respect and kindness can be expressed without words, the way a small gesture can leave a lasting impression, and the way connection is created even in formal settings. During a quiet moment, as the congregation listened to a particularly moving hymn, Louis's attention was drawn to the gentle smiles of his family members. He mirrored their demeanor, folding his hands and bowing his head at the right moments. There was a subtle harmony between his personal curiosity and his understanding of the service, a balance that spoke to both his upbringing and his natural disposition. Observers could see that he was not merely following instructions. He was participating fully, absorbing the spirit of the occasion, and responding in ways that were heartfelt and genuine. As the service progressed, the cameras captured Louis in small, unguarded moments that revealed his charm. A slight smile when a familiar carol was sung, a gentle wave to a friendly face in the congregation, a curious glance toward an older sibling who whispered encouragement. Each gesture was magnified in public perception. Commentators later noted how remarkable it was for someone so young to maintain such composure while still appearing playful and relatable. These moments, simple yet powerful, highlighted the natural ability of Prince Louis to connect with those around him without losing his individuality or innocence. The service also included a time of reflection and prayer, during which Louis demonstrated remarkable attentiveness. He knelt quietly, following the lead of his family members, and allowed his natural curiosity to remain in the background as he focused on the solemnity of the occasion. He understood, without fully articulating it, that certain moments required quiet observation, patience, and mindfulness. His small gestures, folded hands, a lowered gaze, a gentle bow, reflected both his respect for tradition and his capacity to adapt to the expectations of the public and his family. Even as the ceremony moved toward its conclusion, Louis's behavior remained exemplary. He stood with measured steps, walked with care along the aisles, and participated in the closing carols with enthusiasm that was neither loud nor disruptive. His natural charm, combined with the lessons of etiquette he had learned, created a picture of a young prince who embodied both innocence and dignity. Observers could see the combination of childlike wonder and disciplined awareness, a rare blend that endeared him not only to the public, but also to those who worked closely with the royal family. As the final moments of the service unfolded, Louis shared a quiet but meaningful interaction with an older family member. A soft word of encouragement, a gentle touch on the shoulder, and a shared glance reflected the bond between them and reinforced the importance of guidance and support. These moments, though private, were essential in shaping how he approached the rest of the day. They emphasized the delicate balance between learning protocol and expressing genuine personality, a balance that Louis seemed to navigate effortlessly. The exit from the church was as graceful as the entrance. Louis moved carefully down the steps, holding a family member's hand, his gaze occasionally meeting those of the waiting crowd. There were smiles, waves, and small gestures of acknowledgement, all executed with poise. The public responded warmly, their admiration evident in the applause and cheering that followed. The youngest prince had, in a short time, created an impression that would be remembered long after the service ended. His calm demeanor, attentive participation, and natural charm made him the highlight of the ceremony, proving that etiquette and innocence could coexist beautifully. As he stepped back into the carriage, ready to return to the palace, Louis's face reflected quiet satisfaction. He had participated fully, observed carefully, and contributed to the grace of the occasion in ways both large and small. The lessons he had learned in the palace earlier that morning had come to life, and his natural ability to engage with people and surroundings had shown through. For a young child, the experience had been both educational and memorable, and for the public, it was a moment of delight that would be shared widely in stories, articles, and photographs. The church had settled into a rhythm of quiet reverence, yet the atmosphere remained alive, with warmth, excitement, and the gentle hum of the choir. Inside, Prince Louis moved with a calm and measured grace, his young eyes observing the details around him while his small hands remained neatly folded. Though he was still very young, his presence carried a certain magnetism. People could not help but notice him, not because he sought attention, but because his natural charm and polite demeanor made him stand out effortlessly. It was as if he understood, in a way only a child of insight could, that even small gestures could carry meaning and touch the hearts of others. Louis's first small act of charm came almost immediately during the singing of one of the traditional carols. As the choir's voices soared, he allowed his bright eyes to wander gently over the congregation. When he noticed a child who had been waving excitedly at the royal family, he responded with a soft, careful wave of his own. It was simple, almost imperceptible, yet the warmth behind it was unmistakable. That tiny gesture, filled with genuine friendliness, drew smiles and whispers of admiration from the crowd. Parents lifted their children higher to see him better, and cameras quickly captured the moment. It was the kind of innocent, heartfelt interaction that endeared him to everyone present. During the service, Louis also displayed subtle social awareness that many adults would find remarkable. When a member of the congregation bowed politely or offered a greeting, he responded with a gentle nod and a soft smile. He did not overdo it or act in a way that felt rehearsed. Instead, his gestures were natural and heartfelt. These small actions, repeated throughout the service, gradually built a picture of a young prince who was not only attentive to tradition, but also capable of connecting with people through warmth and sincerity. Observers began to notice that his charm was not loud or showy. It was quiet, unassuming, and deeply genuine. As the service continued, Louis's curiosity often guided his attention, making him a captivating figure to watch. He admired the detailed patterns on the church's stained glass windows, the polished wood of the pews, and the soft flickering of the candles that illuminated the space. Each detail seemed to hold his attention for a few moments before he returned to the service itself. The congregation noticed these little pauses, the way he tilted his head slightly in wonder, and how he quietly absorbed his surroundings without disturbing the solemnity of the occasion. It was a rare balance of playful curiosity and refined manners, a combination that made him all the more endearing. One of the most memorable moments came when a particularly lively hymn began to play. Louis's small hands moved slightly in time with the music, a natural response to rhythm and joy. His face lit up with excitement, though he remained quietly composed. He glanced at his older siblings, who smiled and encouraged him gently, and then turned his attention to the congregation. In those few minutes, the public witnessed a child who could express joy without losing the dignity expected of his position. Commentators later remarked on how extraordinary it was to see such balance in a young child, the ability to participate wholeheartedly while remaining poised and respectful. Even the smallest gestures contributed to Louis's growing reputation as a figure of charm. When he smiled at the passing clergy, it was not a forced expression but a genuine reflection of his enjoyment and engagement. When he shifted his gaze toward the congregation, there was an air of quiet recognition, as if he understood the importance of acknowledgement without seeking to dominate attention. Each gesture was carefully observed by the adults around him, who marveled at his natural sense of etiquette. For the public, these small interactions created a feeling of connection, making the young prince relatable despite his royal status. Louis also demonstrated a remarkable understanding of timing, a subtle skill rarely expected of someone so young. He knew when to remain still, when to participate in a hymn, and when to respond to gestures of greeting. This awareness, combined with his gentle demeanor, allowed him to navigate the ceremony with grace. Even in moments when he could have been distracted by the beauty of the church or the excitement of the crowd, he maintained a steady focus. Observers were struck not only by his ability to follow instructions, but also by the natural charm that seemed to radiate effortlessly from him. Throughout the service, the young prince's interactions with his family added another layer to his charm. He often exchanged quick glances with his older siblings, who offered small words of encouragement or gentle smiles. These interactions were brief yet meaningful, demonstrating the warmth and connection within the royal family. For Louis, these small exchanges reinforced his confidence, allowing him to participate fully while feeling supported. For the public, witnessing these moments provided a glimpse of the family's nurturing dynamic, making the young prince's behavior all the more impressive and relatable. At one point, a minor distraction arose. A young child in the congregation became restless and began to fidget. Louis noticed immediately. Instead of reacting with impatience or curiosity alone, he subtly shifted his gaze and offered a small, encouraging smile. The gesture was fleeting, but it carried a quiet kindness that resonated with the audience. This was not just a child following etiquette. It was a young individual expressing empathy in a simple yet meaningful way. Such moments, though easy to miss, highlighted the depth of his natural charm and the early development of qualities that would serve him well in the future. As the service continued, Louis's engagement remained unwavering. He participated in every hymn, responded to each gesture of greeting, and maintained his posture and composure throughout. Yet despite his attention to etiquette, there were flashes of playfulness that reminded everyone that he was still very much a child. A tiny giggle at an amusing expression from a sibling, a quick glance at a familiar face in the congregation, or a soft whisper to a family member demonstrated that his charm was not only about manners, it was about personality. These small bursts of natural joy enhanced his appeal, making him relatable and endearing to the public. Louis's presence also highlighted the importance of nonverbal communication. Every gesture, every smile, every subtle nod conveyed warmth and friendliness without words. The congregation responded intuitively, recognizing the sincerity behind his actions. For many, it was a reminder that true charm does not require grand displays or elaborate performances. It is often found in small, genuine expressions of kindness and attention. The young prince exemplified this principle effortlessly, leaving a lasting impression on everyone present. Throughout the ceremony, photographers and journalists captured countless images of Louis. Yet despite the attention, he remained composed, unaffected by the flashes and whispers. His focus was on the service, his family, and the congregation, not on the cameras. This natural poise, combined with his gentle charm, reinforced the public perception that he was a remarkable young prince. His ability to maintain authenticity in the face of scrutiny was both impressive and heartwarming, making him a subject of admiration across the nation. Even the smallest details contributed to Louis's growing reputation for charm. The way he adjusted his coat with care, the careful placement of his hands, the subtle tilt of his head, all reflected a combination of training and natural awareness. Observers could see that he was learning the lessons of etiquette not as rigid rules, but as tools to express respect, kindness, and attention. This understanding, even at such a young age, made his behavior resonate deeply with the public. It was clear that Louis's charm was not superficial. It was rooted in genuine understanding and consideration for those around him. As the service drew toward its conclusion, Louis's engagement did not waver. He participated in the closing hymns with gentle enthusiasm, his small voice blending seamlessly into the collective sound of the congregation. He responded to final gestures with politeness and warmth, acknowledging the clergy, family members, and congregation with small nods and smiles. Each movement, carefully observed, reinforced the impression of a young prince who was both playful and composed, curious yet disciplined. After the service, the family prepared to leave the church. Louis's exit was as graceful as his entrance. He walked carefully, holding a family member's hand, and occasionally looked toward the waiting crowd. Soft waves, gentle smiles, and fleeting nods conveyed warmth and friendliness, leaving an unforgettable impression on those who witnessed him. For many in the audience, these small gestures were the highlight of the day. They showed that charm was not about grand gestures, but about sincerity, attention, and the quiet power of kindness. Even in the carriages on the way back to the palace, Louis remained thoughtful and observant. He reflected the lessons of the service, the warmth of the interactions, and the joy of the occasion. Though he was still a child, He understood in his own simple way that every small gesture mattered and that true charm comes from the heart. This awareness, nurtured by his family and expressed naturally through his demeanor, had already begun to shape his public image. By the end of the day, it was clear to everyone watching that Prince Louis had achieved something remarkable. His combination of innocence, charm, and impeccable etiquette had captivated the public, demonstrating that even the youngest members of the royal family could leave a lasting impression. His small gestures, attentive participation, and natural warmth had won hearts, and stories of his behavior were already spreading through newspapers, social media, and word of mouth. Louis had shown that charm is not only learned, but also innate, a quality that emerges most beautifully when paired with kindness, respect, and genuine curiosity. As the final notes of the closing hymn faded through the church, the atmosphere remained filled with a sense of quiet. Fulfillment. The congregation had participated wholeheartedly in the service, but there was no denying that a particular young figure had left an indelible impression. Prince Louis, small in stature but immense in charm, had carried himself with a grace and poise that seemed far beyond his years. He had listened attentively, responded kindly, and interacted with warmth and sincerity, leaving those who witnessed him feeling both delighted and inspired. The exit from St. Mary Magdalene Church was a scene of subtle elegance. Louis held the hand of a family member as he moved carefully down the steps, his small shoes making quiet, measured sounds on the polished stone. The crowd outside, braving the winter chill, responded with gentle applause and soft cheers. Children waved excitedly, adults smiled warmly, and cameras captured every moment of his calm, polite demeanor. Yet despite the attention, Louis remained focused and composed. His small gestures, a slight wave, a soft smile, a nod of acknowledgement, were delivered with effortless sincerity, revealing a young prince who truly understood the balance between attention and humility. As he stepped into the carriage that would take the royal family back to the palace, there was a moment of quiet reflection. Louis's bright eyes took in the waving crowd, the decorations lining the streets, and the softly falling snow that lent a magical touch to the day. He had participated fully in a ceremony of both tradition and celebration, demonstrating a poise and understanding that was remarkable for someone of his age. It was clear that his actions, however small, had resonated with everyone around him. Each gesture, smile, and wave had been a demonstration of kindness, attentiveness, and natural charm, a combination that left a lasting impression on all who observed him. Back at the palace, the atmosphere was one of gentle celebration. The family returned quietly, yet the sense of accomplishment and joy was palpable. Louis, still dressed in his ceremonial attire, was greeted with soft smiles and encouraging words from his older siblings. They shared small glances and subtle nods of approval, acknowledging his careful participation and the charm he had displayed throughout the service. Though these gestures were private, they reinforced the young prince's confidence and sense of pride. He had navigated the day with grace, charm, and attentiveness, and the warmth of his family confirmed that he had done so admirably. In the days following the Christmas service, the public's admiration for Prince Louis grew even stronger. Newspapers and online media highlighted the subtle gestures, polite demeanor, and natural charm that had made him the focus of attention. Social media was filled with images of his gentle wave, his attentive posture, and the warm smiles he had shared with the congregation. Commentators spoke about his remarkable ability to combine childlike innocence with an understanding of etiquette, noting that such poise and awareness were rare in children so young. The young prince had achieved something extraordinary. He had captivated the public without seeking attention, relying only on the authenticity of his character and the warmth of his personality. Louis's charm was not limited to public appearances. It reflected a deeper understanding of empathy and kindness. During private moments after the service, he interacted gently with younger children in the palace and even with members of the staff, offering soft words of greeting and quiet gestures of friendliness. These interactions, though often unnoticed by the public, demonstrated the depth of his character. He had learned that charm was not simply about appearances or etiquette. It was about attentiveness, respect, and the ability to make others feel seen and valued. The lessons he had absorbed during the Christmas service were already being expressed naturally in his daily life. The young prince's behavior also served as a reminder of the importance of guidance and nurturing. His family's patient teaching, gentle encouragement, and thoughtful explanations had prepared him not just for a single public appearance, but for a lifetime of meaningful interaction. Every small lesson in etiquette, every story about the importance of kindness, and every gentle reminder about how to connect with others had contributed to the person he was becoming. Observers could see the results clearly. A child who could charm a nation not through performance, but through authenticity, warmth, and grace. Louis's experience at the Christmas service also highlighted the delicate balance between public expectation and personal expression. Though he was a member of one of the most recognized families in the world, he remained very much a child, curious, playful, and full of wonder. Yet he had learned to adapt his behavior in ways that honored tradition and respected the expectations of others. This balance between individuality and responsibility was one of his most remarkable qualities, and it was evident in every gesture, every glance, and every interaction during the service. It was a reminder that true charm comes not from perfection, but from authenticity and attentiveness. The reflections on Louis's behavior extended beyond the walls of the palace and church. Teachers, caregivers, and close family friends spoke of his attentiveness, curiosity, and gentle nature. They remarked on his ability to observe, learn, and respond with warmth and thoughtfulness. Even among adults, such qualities were admired, and in a young child they were extraordinary. Louis had demonstrated that charm and etiquette are not merely about formality. They are about connection, understanding, and the ability to convey kindness and respect through simple, meaningful actions. In the weeks that followed, the images and stories of the Christmas service continued to circulate, reinforcing the public's admiration. Children in schools and communities were inspired by his example, mimicking his polite gestures and kind demeanor. Adults spoke of him as a symbol of hope, warmth, and the enduring power of simple, genuine behavior. Louis had managed to touch hearts not by grand gestures or elaborate performances, but by being himself, a child who was attentive, respectful, and naturally charming. The lasting impression of the service also reminded many of the timeless values that the royal family sought to embody. Louis had become a living example of how tradition and modernity could coexist harmoniously. He honored the ceremonial aspects of the occasion, while expressing his natural personality in ways that were relatable and heartwarming. His behavior reminded the public that etiquette is not simply about rules, but about respect, consideration, and the ability to make others feel valued. It was a lesson in grace and humility, delivered effortlessly by a young prince. Even within the palace, the reflections continued. Family members spoke of Louis with quiet pride, acknowledging not only his public poise, but also the kindness and attentiveness he displayed in private moments. These reflections reinforced the importance of nurturing character alongside teaching tradition. Louis had shown that true charm is rooted in authenticity and empathy, qualities that are cultivated through guidance, observation, and lived experience. His actions during the Christmas service were a clear manifestation of these lessons, demonstrating the success of the careful nurturing provided by his family. In the quiet moments of reflection, Louis himself seemed aware of the significance of the day. Though still very young, he had experienced the power of small gestures, the warmth of public admiration, and the satisfaction of participating fully in a meaningful tradition. He had learned that his actions, however small, could have a real impact on others. The gentle smiles he shared, the soft waves he offered, and the attentive posture he maintained were all simple actions that carried meaning beyond his years. It was a profound lesson for a child, and one that would shape his understanding of responsibility, kindness, and connection for years to come. The Christmas service, while a single event, became a defining moment in Louis's early life. It was a day when he had demonstrated not only the skills of etiquette he had been taught, but also the natural charm and empathy that made him relatable and endearing. His behavior reminded the public that even the youngest members of the royal family could have a meaningful impact through simple, sincere gestures. It was a lesson in authenticity, a celebration of childhood innocence, and a demonstration of the timeless power of kindness. As the festive season continued, the young prince's presence remained a topic of admiration. Families discussed his gestures, children mimicked his polite waves, and adults reflected on the quiet charm that had made the service so memorable. For Prince Louis, the experience was both educational and joyful, a moment where his natural curiosity, attentiveness, and warmth had been celebrated on a public stage. It was a day that reinforced his understanding of etiquette, empathy, and connection, while allowing his personality to shine in a way that was wholly his own. In the end, Prince Louis's participation in the royal Christmas service became more than a public appearance. It was a testament to the power of authenticity, the value of small gestures, and the importance of thoughtful guidance. He had managed to charm the public, win admiration, and demonstrate the balance between tradition and individuality, all while remaining a joyful, curious child. His behavior was a gentle reminder that grace and charm are cultivated through observation, practice, and kindness, and that even the youngest among us can leave a lasting impression on the hearts of others. And so, as the festive season continued, Prince Louis returned to his everyday life within the palace. Yet the memory of the service, the smiles he had shared, and the warmth he had inspired remained. It was a defining moment, one that would shape his understanding of responsibility, connection, and public life. Through his simple gestures, attentive participation, and natural charm, Louis had shown that even at a young age, he could embody the qualities of dignity, kindness, and grace, qualities that would continue to grow and resonate in the years to come.